100 times more likely. Can't be avoided. Can't
it may be more likely, but it's not inevitable.
I adopted 4 children, too, and they were all abandoned by their father. I didn't realize it at the time of how these implications would affect it, but one of my children, when he was 16 and he left my care, became a heroin addict and a methadone addict. And after treating him and treating all the others, I realized that their abandonment by their birth father has had profound psychological consequences for them. They deal with a psychic wound that they cannot deal with, and so they take these hard drugs to make them forget their rejection, their alienation, a sense of worthlessness, low self-esteem. It's remarkable, really.
Well,
I have never met 2 people that had 2
pain.
parents who were home all the time and loved them, who ever was addicted to anything. Tobacco, alcohol, you name it. It just doesn't happen in my experience.
Really?
Yeah.
It happens in mine.
Yeah.
Our experiences are different. Yes, I know people who are loving parents who've done everything right, and they have children who are addicts.
Nope. There's something
not in your world.
You're not getting the whole story. You're not getting the whole story. Nobody goes to a party at 19 and decides they're going to take up heroin or heavy alcohol drinking and then sticks to it. They are dealing with some kind of psychic wound from their childhood and youth about that father.
Do you think marijuana is a gateway drug?
It's only because it's accessible. If you're 12 years old and 13 and you're troubled, you're going to be able to find tobacco, alcohol, and marijuana pretty readily. And that's all it's about. It's all about access. And then when that doesn't deal with your problems, you move on to other things. Again, we're talking with people who have an addictive tendency throughout the rest of their life. So they're all dealing from a psychic wound that they're looking for something to take away the pain. So marijuana won't take away your pain. It'll make you feel better about life. It'll take away physical pain. It'll deal with medical things. But it won't deal with a psychic wound in your heart if you feel rejected, alienated, unwanted, unloved.
Sure, but as you know, every culture, whether they be in the jungles of Africa or in downtown Vancouver, usually does something to alter their consciousness. I don't mean they're all addicts, but they do something. I don't know what it is, why we can't just sail along, breathing the air and drinking the water, but there is something innate in human nature that makes us want to get high.
Yeah, getting high is not the same as getting addicted, though. Getting high, animals get high. Bears eat magic mushrooms, or brother. Cats eat catnip, and lots of people are getting high to feel good. It's whether you have a destructive, compulsive tendency to overuse a substance that leads to your self-destruction. That actually always comes from a wounded psyche, where you're taking these drugs to medicate yourself so you stop thinking about the things that terrify you or terrorize your psyche. See, I had 2 loving parents who were home all day long. I know nothing about this personally, empirically. My dad was home every day from his factory. He went to the same factory to work all my life that I was home, and he came home at 5 o'clock every day. I never saw him yell at my mother once in the 16 years I lived at home. He didn't drink. He had 1 beer on hockey night in Canada. I had a bottle of pop. He had a beer. We had a bowl of chips each, and it was a pretty Spartan and austere life for much of my early years, but I never saw violence. I never saw drinking. I never saw anything but love, and I was made to feel very loved and wanted. So I grew up with a lot of confidence and self-esteem, and I'm able to deal with the slings and arrows of everyday life better than people, much better than people, many of them, who didn't have their father at home to guide them.
When your father, is he still alive?
He is, barely.
Barely, but when you first started being an activist, he was probably compos mentis and all there.
Oh, yeah.
And how did he feel about his son?
Well, they've never understood where I got this kind of, both my business acumen and my zealousness for political change. My father was a very charming gentleman, still is, and who always believed, his phrase was, you can get more flies with honey than vinegar, which bespeaks why would you want flies. But nonetheless, I could see his point. He was saying, try and be nice to everybody. He was always telling me, try and be nice to everybody. And in retail, I've learned that's a very good policy. But in politics, it's sometimes good to have the right opponents and right enemies opposite you.
What will the new administration, well, new old, Paul Martin at the helm, do as far as decriminalization of marijuana, legalization of marijuana? Will anything change, do you think?
Well, I think Jack Layton being elected to the House of Commons is a terrific thing. I campaigned across Canada in March and April, went to 22 cities and spoke at universities and colleges to get people there to support Jack Layton, the New Democratic Party. Sounds odd considering I'm the leader of the BC Marijuana Party, but at a certain point in time you have to put the vanity of having your name on the ballot aside and deal with who's going to be in the next Parliament to advocate our interests in this pivotal time. And Jack Layton came to my home last October and said, I want the support of the marijuana people for the New Democratic Party. I believe in a legal, regulated environment to have this marijuana distributed. I don't believe people should go to jail And I said, that's great. I'm with you. I'll support you. Do anything it takes. So I gave them money. We signed up 3,000 people to join the New Democratic Party. We had a number of our people run as candidates for the NDP and are on executives now. And I believe Jack Layton is completely sincere and believable and credible. And hopefully he'll put forth a good argument for a legal environment in the next Parliament when this bill comes up.
And yet the decriminalization motion, which is coming through the Liberal, and you say is not where you want it to go.
Oh, it's not an improvement at all. In fact, it allots $250 million for a propaganda campaign against the marijuana people. It makes penalties for growers of marijuana, merely over 50 plants. Every grower in British Columbia grows more than 50 plants. And I estimate we have 100,000 Growops and maybe 250,000 growers in the province alone, growing either under one light or many lights. And so all of a sudden, every single person who grows marijuana in British Columbia is at risk of going to jail for up to 14 years. Now, people say, well, Mark, judges don't send people to jail for 14 years. But my point is, what other crimes have a 14-year penalty? Second-degree murder, rape, violent crimes, vehicular homicide, armed robbery, bank robberies. So the government's trying to make it look like if you grow 50 plants, you're as morally heinous a person as the person who would rape your daughter, rob a bank, commit murder, second-degree murder, where those maximums are also 14.
Sure, but a lot of the grow-up people are not getting sent to jail at all.
Well, 20% are. That's a shockingly high number in my opinion.
But shocking for the police officers to go in into grow-up situations. Very dangerous.
It's not very dangerous. That's a lie. Police officers lie.
I don't think so. I have a daughter who's a cop.
No. That's completely wrong. I've gone into over 1,000 grow-ups in the last 10 years. It's my job to go into grow-ups. First of all, a grow-up that's not well done can't grow proper pot and will have no value. Grow-ups are completely safe. It's the same growing material that's used to grow tomatoes as used to grow marijuana. There's nothing toxic.
Well, what about the people who are doing the growing? They're not safe always.
Sure they are.
No.
Sure, well, why would they live in an environment that's not safe?
Why wouldn't they? They're greedy. They want money.
No, they're not greedy. People who grow marijuana don't make a fortune. They make $25,000 to $75,000 a year tops. Almost no one.
75's good.
Yeah, but that's certainly much less than I make. It's much less than a professor of a university makes. It's the same as what a factory worker on a unionized shop makes.
Okay, how do you make your money?
Well, people don't make a lot of money growing pot. It's just enough. That's why people of no skills go into growing pot. People with little education, no skills, former resource industry people like forestry workers, miners, fishermen, areas where there's been massive layoffs, they go into marijuana because they don't need any special skills, but they're only going to make enough money to replace what they were making previously.
No, but you, Marc Emery, you make money.
I make lots of money.
You're well-heeled and you make lots of money. Are you making it online, selling seeds, or are you making it...
All of it. We do about $5 to $6 million in revenue a year. And of that money, I keep $300,000, and I pay the government $144,000 a year, shocking $12,000 a month in personal income taxes. So I take home about $150,000 a year after the taxation part. And I have 4 children, and 3 of them need financial support, and a number of exes. So most of my money goes to various family and what have you. And then the other $5 million is, of course, we have a staff of 40 or so people, and we publish magazines and pot TV shows, and our drug addiction center alone takes up $200,000 that year. And many of those things don't make revenue. So the revenue is made from selling seeds, publishing the magazine, carrying advertising, running the BC Marijuana Party bookshop, which is a full facility grow center, as well as...
Sure. But supposedly what you do is illegal. Are you...
Some parts of it are, yeah.
Yeah. So are you astounded that they sort of ignore you, in a sense? I mean, you've been arrested and harassed, but...
That's true, and I've certainly been arrested many, many times. And I've certainly had all my assets taken on 4 occasions, too, so by the police. And in one case, they took $500,000 worth of my stuff and my cash and never charged me with anything. So, you don't even need to get charged to lose lots of money to the police.
Right, so they confiscate it.
They confiscate it. But, that's what that taught me, though, and many of those wonderful lessons you learn in life when bad things happen. And all the worst things that ever happened to me turned out to be the best things. Well, one of those things I learned, don't get attached to property or people. And so I feel quite content just when the police steal everything from me and leave me with lots of bills, and it teaches me good lessons. So I've learned to not carry property around. I don't carry cash around. I don't have money. I give it away as soon as I get it. As soon as I get the cash, it's gone.
It's the Buddhist way?
Yeah, and it works for me because it gives police less incentive to arrest me.
So I want to be your neighbor, okay?
No, no, people around me say they do all right.
I'd like to be your neighbor. Marc Emery, our guest, head of the BC Marijuana Party. We'll come back.